Yeah, what's up, guys? Years here, and welcome to Years Inspires podcast. And today we're going to talk about filmmaking. Okay, so filmmaking, just a bit of background. You know me as a photographer. I do landscape, cityscapes, and you know me as an influencer, content creator. But a bit of background. I used to be a filmmaker. Like back in the day, I attended a short film. I conducted. I produced music videos, corporate stuff, short films, So that was my line back in the day, and it kind of shifted to a different direction. So yeah, I wish like I was kind of in this situation. Like, what if I didn't, change that path? What would be my life today? But yeah, anyway, I mean. We'll talk about that more later on. And today I want to introduce you to my really special guest. The legend, the Middle East legend, Timothy. Bro, what's up? What's up, man? What's up? How are you, bro? Huh?
Good to see
How's
you.
everything, man? Thank you for coming in.
Pleasure.
I invited you 2 months ago, and it took you this long to.
The problem is I have like my 60 days already planned. So yeah, annoyingly, I don't have my own time in my.
That's how busy you are, bro.
Wow.
See that's this is like the typical filmmaker life,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. That's something with filmmaking, like the schedule, man. You have to go through like long day of shoots and everything, which I experienced back in the day. Which like I was like right now I'm kind of gone from that kind of life, So I'm doing like more easier jobs these days, but I still miss having my own crew, like having the big light sets and everything, And and Timothy is here to give us some insights on how to improve your filmmaking, especially the business aspect.
Yeah, the business.
All right, so bro, before we start, man, can you please introduce yourself? Briefly. The floor is yours.
Sure, awesome. Thank you so much for having me on. So, in case you guys are not aware of who I am, my name is Timothy Fair Matthews. Is this my main camera?
Yes.
Talk to this one? Okay. Hey guys, how you doing? So my name's Timothy Fair Matthews. I'm from England originally. Moved to Dubai 11 years ago. So I was 23 when I moved. I had already shot for a lot of car brands, done a lot of events. I already had a production business with my business partner in the UK already, and accidentally back then, it wasn't strategic, but we did do networking very well within a niche. We focused on motorsport coverage, and we ended up moving to Dubai about 11 years ago, setting up with another production house that's from India. So I've got 2 business partners. And we moved to Dubai, did the move, as we all have if you've moved here, and went through the painful process of trying to start a filmmaking business. And it took us like 3-4 years to realize, okay, this is hard, So my first 2-3 years were pretty tricky, but I mean, we've done very well, and we've been very blessed in the respect of what opportunities have come our way. I now have a team of about like 10 to 15. It tends to float depending on what time of year we're working in. Yeah. But yeah, we do some pretty awesome work with some big brands. Like we've worked with nearly every car brand you can think of. We've done work with Red Bull, filmed the Pope visit when he came, worked with Will Smith. We do frequent work all over the world as well. We've got like Gulf Oil, McLaren, Spartan. Like we've got so many cool brands. And I find myself now only on the tools so much. I'm more like a behind the desk businessman more than I am a DP, which is a good and a bad thing. And recently, also I'm a Sony ambassador, so I've been the Sony ambassador for 5 years. And one thing in the last 2-3 years that's kind of evolved with me is Sony have been leaning on me a little bit more to do the sort of, let's talk about the sucky parts of filmmaking, or let's talk about the challenges that is outside of the skill set. I mean, I still teach the workshops about how to use the Sony ecosystem and how to shoot, etc. But it's more, I think there's a lot of value not spoken about in terms of the pains of trying to grow your career. Okay. So I've also got a community as well called Financially Free Filmmaker, known as Triple F. So those are my 3 hats. First and 10 Productions, my production house, Sony Ambassadorship, and Triple F. And that's kind of like what I do now. So I spread my time quite evenly, or sometimes more to the other, depending on the time of year, across those 3 entities. So,
cool. So you arrived here, you were 23? I said
23.
Very young, bro. I came here, I was 21.
I
was 21, yeah. So what was your filmmaking background? Like, are you into filmmaking before you arrived here, or how filmmaking started for you?
So I didn't study filmmaking. I actually got given a really rubbish like camera as a Christmas present years ago when I was like 14, 13. Oh, wow. But I was really into kiteboarding. You know kiteboarding? So not on the water, on the land. And I just filmed my hobby. I just made videos on Movie Maker. I had a rubbish PC. It used to crash after the video got to a certain size, it used to crash because it was just so bad. And I just taught myself in that respect. But I ended up getting into motorsport and studying as a motorsport engineer. And because people knew that I did my filmmaking with my kiting, I ended up getting employed by a race circuit eventually who said, Tim, would you like to cover the events? And it only kind of, my kind of career grew just from doing content for a race circuit in the UK. And then, after 2-3 years of just constant camera time, I got quite good, and then ended up, my business partner, Peter Farrow, who's an ex-BBC engineer, decided to invest in me, and we kind of grew a company out of that. And then we ended up just niching in motorsport, which led me to Dubai because I met a lot of really influential people that were quite high up in the motorsport scene. Okay. And then obviously a lot of people in motorsport tend to be quite global. So that's how I ended up meeting my business partner in India. So it all stems from networking. I didn't study filmmaking. I just had a lot of camera time. And just from being prolific with my content and posting online like you are right now, it got me noticed and the opportunities to where I am today.
Good. So when you arrive here, you said you already started a business right away. Well, straight on.
Yeah, we landed here with we had a bit of support financially from the business partners. I couldn't have done it without them. We pretty much we actually came here originally to do film education in schools and to do some work with the military here, which all really didn't kind of work out, So we ended up having to just pivot and just go at it from a production house generic perspective of just trying to create content for brands. But the 2-3 years were really hard. I think I did 30,000 dirhams in my first year, which was rubbish because we spent like 300,000.
First year, just divided into months.
Yeah, that's
pretty low, man.
That's like 2,000 dirhams a month. That was so bad.
Oh yeah, I mean, we all start somewhere. In my situation, I started, working full time. Like I worked for like 10 years in a corporate, Yeah. And after 10 years, I managed to like build my own company. So yeah, it took me 10 years to have my life that I'm living right now. So yeah, for you started, man, that's good. Like you started business right away. Though it didn't started as good as you expected.
Well, I didn't know what to do. I mean, this is the problem I had. I got to Dubai already shooting probably 100 assets. I knew I didn't work for major racing championships. I had already worked with Ferrari, McLaren. I did work for Time Attack Series, Santa Pod Raceway. I traveled all around Europe. We worked with Audi. Like we had done some pretty big stuff. And then I got in Dubai and I realized, I know how to do content, but I don't know how to do a business. And it was only when I started studying sales and leveraging networking more did the business turn around. And I think this is the thing that like kept me here, is because I decided to realize I had to have an honest conversation with myself and say, you don't know what you don't know. So you need to now start exploring what you need to be doing correctly to run this as an actual company. Yeah,
I saw your post, Timothy. Are you more of I saw you always hold the camera, right? So are you more of a DOP or more into directing? Like what you usually do on a set?
I say it depends on the sort of client. I mean, I get involved in shoots still in my production house, but only probably over a certain bracket. And I do shoot. I'm very hands-on, but I try to take a step back now more as a director because I want my team to grow. I filter between. Well, I mean, I had this chat with Jack Crawford the other day. I don't know if there's a title for me because I'm either like an MD sometimes, and then I'm a DP, and then some days I'm a producer. And then some days I'm a director. Sometimes I'm just an assistant. I'm like my shooter's AC just so I can be there to help train him. So I don't know. I go through different hats, but I'd say more so I'm a DP. I used to edit a lot. I don't edit anymore because I think that's it's a low value task now, sadly, editing. True. So I've got some amazing editors in the company. So I mean, obviously I leverage them, but big commercials I will still shoot or / direct. DP direct is probably the best word for it.
Yeah, I kind of understand you because back in the day, pre-pandemic, I used to have staff, like small staff, like 3 people. Okay. And I tried to stay away from holding the camera. I tried to leverage that into to my team, but it was hard, man. It was hard to let go of. Like the thing is, you love it so much. Yeah, it's just hard to let go to someone else. Like you ended up just doing it yourself. So how did you manage that? Like control. I believe you need a lot of control, man.
Yeah, no. But the thing is I think you have to have again conversations with yourself about what direction do you want to be going in as a brand. I mean, because even if you're just a videographer and you're by yourself, you're still a business, and you have to understand that you will never get financially secure by trading your time for money. True. So you have to be building something that is to a bigger picture than just what you're doing right now. And the more time you spend on the camera, although that's fine sometimes, if you do it too much, you're just missing opportunity for others to learn from you, or for you to be building something that's bigger than you. And if you don't focus on that, then it's going to mean that your future is quite bleak in terms of scalability.
True.
A lot of filmmakers can't scale beyond, like 2 or 3 staff, or just working by themselves, and they have this ceiling that they keep hitting. And what we just need to do is, I think, collectively talk and discuss how we can leverage the material and the information that's available to us online to grow like a regular business.
Yeah, sure.
Compete with agencies, compete with bigger production houses, because we all have that potential in us.
Yeah, I remember that you said the word. I remember that you mentioned, I can't remember where, but you mentioned that to me, that the scalability. Like, you asked me, how would you scale your business? That's the thing. I can't remember where was it from, but I heard you said it to me. But yeah, that's interesting. Like, the thing, I'm in my business right now, I'm pretty stable, I would say.
Good.
Like, I'm pretty satisfied with what I have right now. Like,
Right.
one man team, and I shifted from doing production works. I shifted more into content creator, influencing stuff.
Right.
So it's more, I would say, it went to like a basic kind of jobs. But the money wise, it stayed the same compared to what I'm earning back in the day. So that's why I'm kind of satisfied with what I do
Amazing.
right now. Less work,
Well,
but
it doesn't necessarily, I mean, financial freedom, people have this misconception that you need to be making millions. You don't. And actually, entrepreneurism is not for everyone. You know what it's like running a team. It's
exactly.
stressful.
Yes.
Like running, honestly, I feel like sometimes, God, I wish I was just going back to being a freelancer sometimes.
Yeah,
I envy you in that respect sometimes.
Yeah.
But I see there's 3 ways to scale. If you have to think long term, I want to grow something massive, you can either become I call it the 1% filmmaker, where you can decide, okay, I'm going to end up becoming so premium, but just a one-man band, that I can end up charging whatever I want in terms of a rate. Just really lean into being an amazing service and be like the high value shooter that's in the region. And then the extra money you earn above probably what other people do, you can use to compound and invest in other things. That's one way to scale. Second one is to grow a team that develops what I call a 4P service. So there's the 4 P's of content. My friend Raj Katecha came up with this methodology, and there's plan, produce, publish, promote. Unless you can report on all four, it's very hard for you to create predictable revenue or to get businesses to buy with you in a long perspective. You know what I mean? So to grow an agency effectively is one way, and then the third way is actually to do what I'm doing, which is growing a production team to eventually merge with an existing agency or someone that does do a 4P service. Because any business, if it's to have value later in life to be sold, you've got to have things like systems, assets, predictable revenue, good books, good brand, good credibility, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's obviously probably the one other way. And I think unless you're prepared to do all 3, then you will just be working, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
you just have to work out what it is that you want out of this career.
Yeah.
For some, it's just a hobby that pays them. For some, it's a very serious business. I think having that conversation with yourself to determine what is it that I want out of this life is important to have. And I think based on what you want, you reverse engineer the goal and go from there.
I mean, this stage that I'm thinking of, like, maybe in the future, I might go back to that, like, having my own team, having doing large kind of jobs. But yeah, I mean, let's see. The thing is, we just had to go with the flow with whatever life gives us,
Of course, yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, it's important. You really, I mean, the most important thing is you end up and you always enjoy this job.
Sure.
There's moments where we have our like, oh my God, this is so bad. But I mean, I think that's with anything. But I mean, you've got to majority of the time enjoy the trade. And if the job ends up, like I've had moments with my production house where it's got so stressful that it does make you question, goodness me, is this for me? And I think that's something I don't want people to think like running a production team in a business is really easy and it's all lovely. It really is not. It's painful, and it requires a lot of grit and sacrifice and hard work and it has its moments where it's amazing and it also has its moments where it's not.
Sure.
Like with anything.
Cool. So business-wise, Timothy, is there any certain topic you wanna talk about in terms of like filmmaking business?
Well, question to you back before I answer that. What do you think is the biggest challenge you think filmmakers have when it comes to the business side of their industry? What do you think is the challenges? Or what would your viewers what would you say is the pain point? Is it the ability is it burnout? Is it being unable to pitch content correctly? Or is it the client acquisition? Is it the sales or the scalability? What do you think?
Okay, in my perspective, in my experience doing this kind of stuff, I think it's about managing people. That's one of the, for me at least,
Okay.
because back in the day, I don't have resources. Like I don't have my Instagram, or, like I don't have this kind of reach. Like right now, if I need something, I will just post on my stories. People would come. But back in the day, it's hard to look for people that you will trust. So yeah, it took me a while to got that. As I said, I managed to got at least 3 crew, but pandemic hits and I just had to let go of everything, and losing everything in a snap. That was painful. That's why one of the reasons. That's why I'm trying not to go to that life again. I was like, I'm enjoying what I'm doing right now, but yeah, what I went through during the pandemic, it was hard, man. Like letting go of the people that you've trusted. That was hard. That was hard. Also, clients. I lost clients as well. So yeah. So people, and also, yeah, of course, clients too. I mean, all of us struggled.
If you don't mind me asking, I'd love to know, just from an education perspective, what was the things that caused that to happen? Like, was there anything that, like, I didn't have this, or in hindsight, I wish I did this? Like, what did you learn? Just for my own curiosity, what did you learn from the exercise? Yeah.
See, the thing is, when pandemic hit, my company just finished 3 years in business. Like. Okay. I just started like 3 years, and they said once you reach 3 years, once you survive 3 years, the first 3 years was hardest. After that, it will be easier. So I was in that point. It was good. Like I'm stable. I have clients. I have my own stuff and everything. And the pandemic hits. Yeah. And I think that I was just starting. I mean, I don't have that's very stable. Financial wise, I'm not that stable enough, and so yes, I mean, that's why I really struggle a lot. I don't have that kind of cash flow to cover the cost of everything. So
cash flow is usually the biggest killer with our trade.
Sure,
because the fingerprint of usually a cameraman's banking account or a videographer's banking account is that you'll get a project, bit of revenue, and then you'll spend ages executing it, and then obviously dip, and then you need to think, okay, I need to go selling now. And you'll do some networking, and then bam, another project, and you have this spike up and down in your account all the time. And this is the problem with this trade, is that it's hard for us to be a predictable business because our work comes in randomly. It's usually word of mouth. It's usually referrals.
Yes.
True. Now, and you can't. Businesses annoyingly need to be predictable for them to have worth. Predictable. They need to be boring. They need to, there needs to be forecast. And how do you forecast one-off projects that come to you randomly? That's the thing that's really, really tricky. True. So it's learning to have difficult conversations with how do we enhance our product so that we can pitch it better, so the clients feel the need to invest in us in 6 or 12-month increments. Or is there a way where we can network well enough or get more business that these peaks and troughs come to us automatically without us having to be dependent on being involved in the sales? So it's those tricky things first. Cash is king, if you and cash flow can kill any business, but filmmaking I found it to be quite hard over the years. Very, very difficult.
Yeah, especially the worth of our gears, man.
Yeah. True.
Just one camera would, especially in the filmmaking world, man, one camera just costs you a lot of money, man.
Yeah, no, it's very true. And the thing is, the gear is it's not cheap at all. I mean, you've got lenses, you've got tripods, you've got lights, you've got microphones, you've got laptops, you've got hardware, you've got media. Yeah. I mean, it all adds up. It ends up being thousands and thousands and thousands. So which is why we need to take it seriously, I think. Either you do this as a hobby and you make your peace with that, or if you do this like a business, then you need to operate differently. So it's either or. I think do this for fun and have it pay for you, great, or go hard with the business. I think somewhere in the middle usually ends up, killing both. You end up not enjoying it and not benefiting financially, or you try and end up benefiting financially, and it's just a mess. So I think have that direction decided, I think, from the beginning. So
I mean, knowing my situation right now, what would be your advice for me? Like I told you, like, should I stay on what I'm doing right now?
I think again, it's you said you really enjoy what you do.
I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, and you've got a great brand, you've got an amazing audience, and you're making a load of impact.
Yeah.
So I think the only thing you need to think, what is the goal of this exercise? And for you, if it's to influence and impact and help filmmakers, then that's the focus. Obviously, you obviously want to make ends meet. You obviously want to for it to pay. But I mean, I know you're busy with work. You're comfortable, so you're doing everything very, very successfully, in my opinion. The only thing maybe is what you want to dial up is up to you. So if it's like I want to make more of an impact, then you need to be more prolific with your content, and you need to be partnering with more brands, and you need to be leveraging other people's audience, like myself and loads of other people. So I would say just stay the course. If you're like, I want to make loads and loads and loads and loads of money, and I'm not worried about the brand so much, then you need to grow it into a production business, and then go into the rehiring, and then start planning a different product and find a way to serve your business clients or agency clients differently. So it depends on the end goal.
Yeah.
What we do now is a reverse engineered habit or approach to what we want in the long term. So I guess I don't know how to answer your what would you do? What would you want in 5 to 10 years from now? What would you want to be doing?
I still want to do what I'm doing right now, but in a bigger scale.
Right.
You know, and I have this goal. It sounds funny, you know. I tell this to all my guests that ask me this kind of question. My goal in the next 20 years. See, I don't want to be a 60-year-old man holding a gimbal in an event.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Never, bro.
Fair enough.
I don't want to be that kind of. I'm already almost 40.
Yeah.
So in 20 years or 10 years from now, I don't want to be doing those kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So right now, it's all about, for me, about building my brand.
Sure.
Like, for example, this podcast.
Yeah.
Like this, for me, I feel like this elevated my brand.
Amazing.
You know?
Yeah.
And also, social media and stuff. Like, and also I wanna do a lot more of less of camera work or less of production work, more into social media, more on promoting brands, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I want for my life right now. But again, I want to have like a separate team doing all the dirty work for me, like doing the corporate stuff, the events. So I wanna have that second tier of Jeru's team behind me to do those kinds of stuff. Because the thing is, I can't let go of my clients.
Yeah,
I have clients that work with me for like 10 years, so 12 years, you know. So I cannot just dump them like that, you know. So I wanna push Jeru's brand to a higher level, but also I want to have a team that do all this kind of stuff.
Well, if you want to grow a team, then you have to understand, like any business, you need good culture assets. You need a great recruitment process. You need to make sure that financially the margin is there to pay people properly. So then you are going down a business route. But then that's like with any trade. If the focus is for you to eventually be in a dialed up version of what you are now, then you're doing everything right. You've got to just think about the infrastructure that's required for that team to run, because that's just not going to happen. That's not going to happen overnight. And managing people is hard.
Yes.
Like your original challenge, you said managing people. I mean, I agree. It's a huge variable in businesses. Like, you will have a way in which you want to produce content. You said it's hard to let go of the camera. When you give it to someone else, you know they're not going to do it like you are.
Sure.
So there is going to be a quality deficit, which then obviously worries you because you're used to doing it yourself. And then they're not going to work as hard as you because they're staff.
Yes.
Why would they? And there's so many other like reasons, but this is why when the stakes are higher, like i.e. running a business with a team that generates the revenue sort of passively for you, there's a lot of work and foundation that needs to be laid for that ecosystem to work properly.
Okay.
So this is the challenge. Like for me, I'd love to, ironically, within probably 5 to 10 years, being very selective with the sort of work that I get involved with. I would certainly like to be taking a smaller step back from my production role inside First and 10, but I definitely don't want to not be on the tools. I really enjoy it. Like you say, though, I don't want to be a man holding a camera at 60. So right. I guess it's a tricky one, because like you have to be a businessman, but also maintain your own brand and be a content creator at the same time. So I think it's a journey we're all navigating, mate. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
Yeah, and also it's a fairly new thing if you think about it. The content creation thing doesn't exist like 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, of course.
Right.
I mean, you look at great point. I mean, Instagram and TikTok. I mean, you look at the production value that's gone up in the last 5 years. We were not doing, like, you were not seeing the sort of content you're seeing now 5-6 years ago, 10 years ago. It was rubbish.
Sure.
You know, like I remember like the old early Instagram, Facebook days, content was terrible. And then you had this amazing content, you had this massive gap. And now people are able to get cameras that can do some amazing things, and content creators are coming out of the woodworks. And these big entities now are now under threat. And I think it's a good thing. I mean, it's never been a better time to be a content creator, I think.
Yeah, and then you notice like young cinematographers, videographers, man, they do crazy shit on Instagram.
Amazing,
all
yeah.
these transitions, all these effects. Like they have all the tools. They
Yeah.
have access on everything. I was trying to catch up, but I was like, man, there's just no way, man. There's just no way.
It's moving so fast.
Yeah.
So fast,
So as you grow old, you have to find way to establish your brand. That's my huge advice. Because if you're always trying to catch up, it will be harder as you grow older.
No, you're true.
Yeah.
No, very true. I mean, you got to remember you have immense value over someone that's new because you've got life experience.
Sure.
You've got so much history of serving people, managing a team, and that has immense value. So you're in a position where you're almost passing the torch to probably hundreds or thousands of content creators.
Sure.
So what you're doing is an amazing thing. You're helping people in so many ways grow in their careers, which is great.
Yeah.
So stay the course, mate. I think you're doing everything right.
Yeah, cool, bro. This question I just came up literally right now. How do you separate yourself as Timothy? Like you've been working for like more than 10 years. How do you separate yourself in the competition? Because as we discussed, there are younger filmmakers that the moment they came in, they have access on everything. All the knowledge are there right on their fingertips. Like, how would you separate yourself amongst the competition right now, especially the new ones?
I think that's a very great question.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't know. Because like, I don't. What I say that I don't think you should do is say that you care or that your content's the best because content.
I'm giving hard to
Yeah, it's a
Timothy
hard
right
one.
now. See.
Okay, let me think. If to differentiate yourself, I think.
If you want, I can answer now myself. Like I can give my answer.
What is not replicatable is you. Like the service is the service. Like if I hired 5 event videographers to go do an event for me, they'd all give me slightly different content, but ultimately the product's going to be somewhat the same.
True.
What makes someone unique is everything outside of the content. So I try to, in my filmmaking program, Triple F, explain to my students and clients, you've got to think about the customer journey. And content is just one tiny piece of the middle. How they're onboarded, how you sell to them, how you audit them, how do you get the brief, how do you plan the production, how you execute the production, how you deliver it, how do you ensure that the asset fulfilled what it's supposed to do, and then how do you maintain that relationship moving forward, is actually what would make you unique. And the only way you can harness that uniqueness is by documenting case studies, gaining social proof, and putting energy into you as a brand.
Okay.
And I think that's how you stand yourself out. There's no point saying, I mean, obviously you can develop some creative styles.
Yeah.
You can play with your transitions. You can do a weird grade. I mean, whatever. But ultimately that's short-lived. I think if you can learn how to harness yourself as a brand, put that online, become, I think, more consultant-like with content. Don't just be like I do great quality. Work out how that moves the needle and what your clients care about. I think that's where you can stand out.
Yeah, I like that. What you said, being personal. I'll show you my journey. So when I started my social media, I was taking pictures, these landscapes, cityscapes, and the thing is, everyone takes amazing pictures. Like everyone posting sunsets, Burj Khalifa. And I was like in this situation, like how would I separate myself? How would I elevate myself amongst the competition? So what I did was I was trying different kind of content, and I figured out that it was my personality. It was my character. It was my my humor.
Yeah, the content was the vehicle, but you were the one driving it forward.
Exactly. So when I figured it out, man, I used and abused my character in all my content. Hence right now, if you ask anyone who's Jerus, they'll probably say the same thing. Like I managed to elevate myself because I became unique amongst the competition, So I like what you said.
You're not replicatable. That's what I said.
Exactly. Like find someone who's doing the same exact thing as Jerus right now. It'll be hard, right?
Look, if I wanted to find a really good photographer, I could probably find 30, 40 amazing photographers.
I agree.
But what is unique is everything else around the content. So you want to stand out, get good at everything else but the content. Well, the content's important.
Yeah.
Let's just put that out there. You need to know what you're doing. But invest in yourself outside of the things related to what your clients experience and what your audience experiences outside of the content.
Yeah, a lot of, especially beginners, they always try to compete with skills, with talents, which is not bad, but it will be harder as the time goes by. Like when you're young, it's good, but you should build your brand. You should build your you should, like I said, everything you said, you have to separate yourself. You need to find unique things that would make you ahead of the pack, you know. So yeah, man, just being unique, you know, using whatever you think is your advantage. Like, what would be your advantage in terms of the competition?
I mean, I would say one thing that's a benefit to First and 10 is that we do put more consultancy and business strategic logic behind the assets. I do not want to claim for 1 minute that we are the most talented production house in Dubai. I think we're consistent. I think that's good. And I think that's a valuable thing in itself. But there are some more very incredibly talented content creators out there. But where we're good is we're very good at understanding the brief, finding a way to find the purpose of this content and only serving people correctly. Like I had a client the other day who is developing a new range of speakers, and they wanted to create a video to produce an asset on these speakers to showcase and market. Now, they didn't have a website. They didn't have any good product photography. They didn't have any people reviewing it. There's no PR. There was no, any credibility at all on the product. So if I was to take money from that client, deliver them a video to go on a platform that has no audience, all it's going to do is generate 40 views on YouTube. Now, morally, I shouldn't take their money. So I didn't. And I think that's something that makes us slightly unique, is that we morally serve people correctly.
True.
We have like a little rule, like we don't think you'll get better for cheaper, and you won't get anyone that doesn't care as much as us in the respect of how the assets got to do its job, specifically for why you're investing in us. Like, I don't think content creators ask that enough. You want a video? Cool. Here's a quote. And they won't go deep and go, why are you wanting to create this? What are you trying to achieve? What's the KPI? How do you, and if it's sales, for example, you've got to then invest your time to understand the client's sales process. You've got to be almost like a business consultant. And that's very hard.
True.
Like, let me give another example. Imagine a personal trainer goes to you, or a gym goes to you and says, we want to create a video to help get more clients. Cool. Let's just say we create an amazing video, it gets loads of views. Where does that viewing then go? What's the next step of the funnel? And we have to recognize, guys, that when we're creating content, it's a communication tool.
Sure.
It's no different to a press release or to a Facebook ad or to something on a billboard on Shakeside Road. We have to know how the asset works in the ecosystem of the campaign, which is the first P, the planning. So we need to, even if we don't offer the service of the 4 Ps, plan, produce, publish, promote, we need to be educated on how all 4 work together for us to do a really good job of the production, which is the second P. So if you're only going to be doing the assets, you're only going to be doing the filming, you're not planning it from a strategic perspective, you're not publishing it or promoting it, that's fine. But you got to know what you're doing. Because if you take money from someone like willingly without checking the sense around it, then it's not a good service. And I think that's where you will really struggle to stand out, and you won't be able to grow, because businesses can only grow if they're really good. No one grows an amazing business if the service is mediocre. So you've got to know how to give value.
I'll give you my point of view on what makes you unique right now,
of course,
which a lot of filmmakers struggle. Is a lot of filmmakers, they love showing off. They love posting their stuff, their work, their equipment, which is okay, But what I like about you, what separates you among the rest is you provide value first. Like you upload so much valuable stuff on your social media. I see them a lot, and that's what I always tell to people: like, give value to your viewers. If you just post your work, a lot of people wouldn't really care. Your clients may care, but the normal people, they will not.
Do you know why the value is important?
Yes.
Do you know why it's important?
Okay.
When you have a service that's complicated, it's called a hard to buy service. There's like an easy to buy scale. We all go through it every day. We don't even realize. If I want to buy a mobile phone, it's super easy to buy. It's a mobile phone. It might be a few thousand dirhams, but I want to know the features. I might like Samsung or Apple or whatever. It doesn't matter. But it's a very simple product. Something like a branding strategy, super complicated. It needs a lot of education and rapport and trust built around it. And I need to know the entity, and I want to verify them and trust. And what we have to recognize is content creation actually is, because it's not tangible and it's not necessarily something people can link ROI to, it's a hard to understand service. Now, any service that's complicated, you need to only be putting content online that is value driven, because it installs trust, credibility, builds rapport. And any service is the same like that, So that's the reason why I think value is a thing that you do lead on with your social media, whether you're like me, putting content out for other filmmakers like you, or whether you're putting out content to benefit your clients. Make it valuable, don't make it salesy, because you want social media to work with you in a way where all the networking and the conversations you're having in real life, when they see you on social media, it's a front of mind tool and a trust building tool. No one's going to buy your services from social media. And the irony is, as content creators, content does not benefit us in a sales capacity. That's the sad thing. Content creators only will get clients from social media after they've gone through a funnel or known them for a while, and they see that social media being a trust building exercise for them.
I agree. I like that building trust, because believe it or not, if you go to my Instagram, you will not see any work that I did posted on my account. But whenever a client approaches me on social media, I rarely receive clients or potential clients asking me for my portfolio. In fact, my company website, I never updated in the last, let's say, 7 years. But once they saw my Instagram, my social media, my brand, they don't need to ask the portfolio. It's like the trust. The trust is there, right?
Yeah. But the funny thing is like we also need to recognize, if we're looking this, let's go into a sales conversation right now. If you're looking to grow and get more clients, the first thing you need to do is recognize where the clients that you've sold to currently have come from. Yeah. And there's 5 ways to get clients. There's direct outreach, like cold calls, cold emails, networking. There's content creation, which doesn't work for us so well, can do if you're at volume. There's paid advertising, and that's not just social media. That could be radio, could be billboards, whatever. There's affiliates and partnerships, which works very well for people like us. And then there's word of mouth, which is the holy grail of how we scale. Oh yeah. Because word of mouth and referrals are the best for complicated services. So if you can measure, like if everyone did this exercise right now, if you're watching this video and you're thinking, right, how do I get more sales? The best tip I can give you is create a Google sheet where you reverse engineer every single client that you've won in the last 5 years. Try and figure out which of the 5 did you get them from, what source did it come from, and just do more of that. It sounds really obvious when I say it like that, but we don't do that. We get so sidetracked by Facebook ads and putting out content, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, if you actually just look at how you got clients and just do more of it and reverse engineer it, you'll actually find that's probably the best exercise for you to go out and get more sales, is because here's proof that it works. You know, very few people get content from social media that are content creators, because in order for you to get a load of interest off social media, you need to have a big audience. And for you to get a big audience, you need to be posting for years. How long has it taken you to build your audience?
Oh yeah, 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I'm not saying that's not a bad way to get clients now, but it's taken you 5 years to get here.
Yeah.
A lot of us don't have that. Like my following's not great. It's like 5,000 followers. I've probably had maybe maximum 10 deals come from social media in the last 11 years.
Yeah, I like what you said about putting everything on Excel and then reverse engineering. Yeah. That's the first time I heard of that.
Yeah. Well, it's called Laps. I got to give credit to Daniel Priestley at Dent. Dent is an amazing brand. Daniel Priestley, amazing author. Got to check out his books. They are on all Audible. And he talks about laps, leads, appointment, presentations, and sales. And measuring your laps, which is basically trying to figure out where your clients came from, and doing more of that comes from that. So it's really worth checking out.
Yeah, and again, word of mouth is king.
Word of mouth is king, especially for people like us, for sure. Which means word of mouth only happens if you're good at what you do. True. No one refers you or gives you good word of mouth if your product's not good. Yeah, that's why you need to know what you're doing.
I even considered social media as word of mouth. Like, for example, if you have a follower that works for a company and they needed a photographer, they suggested you. That's still word of mouth, right?
Technically, yeah. Again, you got to. This is why, like, you might get a client sliding into your DM to say, "Hey, I need you for a shoot," but ask the question: where did they come from?
Yes.
You know, this is what I mean. So, like, very few people will go, "Oh, I found you on my For You page." Like, this is the thing. When you figure out the source, then you know where the time or where the ROI was for you. You know, and that's it. So focusing on that.
Yeah, good. Timothy, is there any what are the biggest advices you can give to not aspiring filmmakers, but maybe filmmakers that wants to put up a business, like wants to do it as a full-time career? Is there any like huge advices you want to give them?
Well, I've got a workshop on my website. So if you go to my bio link, financiallyfreefilmmaker.com, if you scroll a little bit down the page, there's this thing called the 3 ultimate steps for filmmaker growth. Recommend people watch that. I won't tease it too much because it is quite long and complicated, but recommend you do that for anyone looking to get serious. But if I was to summarize it quickly, you need to, first of all, and I would say the goal eventually is to get yourself such an expert in a certain industry around content creation that you can be leagues ahead of anyone else trying to compete with you in that particular field. You can go broad. You know the saying, if you're for everyone, you're for no one?
Oh, yeah.
That's the same thing. But niching only comes from data. So you could say right now, I'm going to niche into helping dentists create better content. Now that's fine. But if you actually go broad to start with as a content creator, serve a lot of different industries, you want to focus on two things: what you enjoy working with and what made you the most money. And you can only do that once you've done it. So you've got to look at your data, got to look at your history. Like you right now, if we said, let's look at every single client transaction you've done since you started filmmaking, let's pull out our top 10 highest paying, let's do that, because you've probably got hundreds of transactions that you've done. Then out of the top 10, which ones did you enjoy the most? That's your niche. But you can only do that once you go broad. So people that try to niche too early is bad, but people that don't niche at all is bad. So I would say long term, if you're looking to grow this into a career and a business, the goal is for you to eventually be an expert for a certain industry, but you've got to go through years of data gathering before you get there.
Yeah.
All right, that's what I'd say.
I totally agree with that. And you said your niche is motorsports, right?
Well, yeah, I'd say we've got a couple of niches. I'd say hospitality and food is a good niche for us. You can have varied motorsport, not motorsport specifically, maybe automotive. I love motorsport, but again, it's fun, but it doesn't generate me funds.
Okay.
So the niche is fun and funds. Okay. If you really enjoy shooting music videos, but it doesn't pay you, sadly, it's not a niche. I mean, you're niching,
Okay.
but it's the wrong niche.
Okay, cool.
It's got to do both things. You've got to love it and it's got to pay you as a business.
Yeah,
right?
true.
Otherwise, you're just doing a hobby that pays you. So automotive, hospitality, tourism as well. And we are improving a little bit more the amount of docu work that we're doing with our international clients. So I'd say those are the three top tier sectors for us.
Timothy, as a filmmaker, like obviously right now you're busy with work. You do mostly work these days, right? Client related work. Like I want to go on your personal filmmaking side. Like,
Sure.
do you do any personal project right now? That is there any project that you do right now for personal that you enjoy the most, that you don't have to get paid? You know, you just love doing it. You just love filming this. You know, is there anything that you do right now?
Well, I do love filming car related content, and I love my JDM cars. So I've got really into that. So that's one thing I do, but not very much because I don't have much time. And there's also something else that's very dear to my heart. My friend, best friend actually, he's in Dubai, and I went to school with him. He's got a charity, which is centered around expanding what he does at the Warrior Academy. He has a martial arts training academy for kids where they help develop a child's character. And he's now taken this to third world countries to help install programs and scholarships for children to learn martial arts and improve their preparations for adulthood. So I'm actually a trustee of that charity and kind of one of the directors of content there. So for me, I think long term, and what I'm continuing to do right now, which is really rewarding, is I'm doing a lot of content for good.
Yeah.
Creating content that creates impact. And I think, you know, that's also super important. If you want to grow in this as a career, don't just measure the money as the success. It's also the impact that you make in your own life and others. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I want to ask, why do you think doing personal project is important? But I think you kind of.
I mean, I think personal projects are. Okay, I haven't been doing this for years, so I can't. I give myself very little personal time, to be honest. I very rarely do shoot for myself or do things that I would say is free time. I'm either trying to be a partner, or I'm trying to be a business partner, or I'm trying to be a cameraman, or I'm trying to be a good son. And like, I think every person can relate to this, you know, that's going through a very busy time in their lives, that you're just going from different hat to different hat, and very rarely do you have time for yourself.
Sure.
But I think it's important for you to stay on top of your craft and to find and connect still on the regular with the love of why you do what you do. Because in the end of the day, you've got to really, really enjoy and love this trade. Otherwise, there's no point doing it. You've only got one life, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And work is work. And whether you make millions or you don't, it doesn't matter. But if you enjoy the journey, then that's the most important thing, right? So,
yeah, totally agree.
So the only thing you can take with you is your memories, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
that's nice. Timothy, let's talk about something that I believe a lot of viewers will be interested in. Let's talk about cameras, because we love cameras, bro.
Yeah, I do.
So obviously you're Sony ambassador, and I just want to ask, what are your arsenal? What's your go-to Sony cameras for your filmmaking jobs?
So if I've got a tier 3 project, like a really, really like important one, I would use the Burano.
Yeah, I saw
love
you
the
talking a lot
Barano.
about the camera.
And I use it only with G Master glass. I don't really get too into the whole Cine glass. I mean, I don't really use cinema lenses too much. I either use the Sony G Master range lenses or I use vintage glass.
It's interesting.
I don't do the Cine glass in the middle. Because the way I see it is like the very crisp, sharp, amazingly performance-based lenses, not many people can tell the difference. But with vintage, you get really nice characteristics. Now, that's not appropriate for some corporate work, but it is sometimes nice to have if you want a certain look and feel. So I'm at either ends, really. So I love the Barano for tier 3. My gear for like every day is an FX6. I love the FX6. I've put 4,500 hours on my FX6. That's how much I've used it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot. And it's still going, you know. It's a bit like clunky at times and the autofocus is a bit on the blink. And Sony Mio have just given me 2 more units. So yeah, I mean, it's going strong. But one camera I would say that I think is incredibly surprising that I love, and this is my tier 1 sort of little jobs. I use the FX30 quite heavily because I think it's an amazing camera for the price. I like money. Do you like money?
Of course, bro.
So I like the fact this camera is so cheap that like for the price of like the price it is, I can get 2-3 of them for the price of what normal cameras would cost me. And I think if it's in a controlled lighting situation, it's a phenomenal camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love the FX. So FX30 with some Sony glass, FX6, G Masters, and then Barano. I'll either use vintage glass or G Masters. So that's my 3-tier kit that I use.
See, you mentioned a lot of cameras, but to be honest, I'm not. I mean, as everyone knows, I'm more into Canon.
I know. Sorry.
I don't.
The FX30 is like the basic camera in
Okay.
the cinema line. It's like the baby camera,
Yeah.
and it's not even full frame. That's the weird thing.
It's Super 35, I believe.
Yeah, APS-C. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I'm more familiar with Canon ecosystem. Now, just want to ask, coming from a Canon perspective, what do you think is the advantage of Sony compared to the other brands? Like, what do you think is Sony has that the rest doesn't have?
Okay, so I'm gonna again, I'm saying this as my opinion, not as a Sony ambassador. I don't think it matters what gear you use, to be brutally honest. I mean, I could give you a 550D that is 12 years old now, give you a nifty 50, a set of lights, and you would get a lovely interview block, wouldn't you?
Sure, yeah.
And my mum would not notice the difference between that and an R5. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
So the problem we have at the minute is all the gear is good. It's just you can't really measure it on quality anymore. So don't buy your equipment or I'm not here to say that Sony's better quality. I think it has some advantages, but for me, I think it's more around the ecosystem and the ergonomics. So like the FX6 is an incredibly versatile piece of kit, but it's the same quality as an A7S III. The sensor's the same.
Yeah.
So why is the FX6 sold for a lot more money? Well, because of the features and the ergonomics and how you use it. Plus, it's bigger, so you can charge more money for it. Clients will pay more money for bigger cameras.
Or just put a matte box in
Put a
front.
matte box on it, you know? So that's fine. So, but the reason why I think, going back to your original question, the reason why I like Sony is I think for me, the low light has been incredible. It's obviously one of the first to have such good shoot and low light capabilities. Its autofocus is pretty good. The lens range is pretty huge. The E-mount ecosystem is good. It's been around for donkey's years and it's still going. That's handy because it means like lenses you invested in years ago are still working. I've got batteries from my EX3 when I was shooting when I was 21 that I'm still using till now. So I think they're very good at making sure that their customers are looked after from a longevity perspective. That's why I like it. But if you said to me, is it about quality? No, it's not. I think all cameras are good. Is it about, I think it's just down to preference.
Exactly.
Yeah,
See, I mean, everything you said about Sony, I can say the same thing for Canon.
Exactly.
And it depends on preference, right? You know,
Preference, yeah.
I grew up with Canon. I grew up, shooting with them. So yeah, I mean, if you talk about ergonomics, everything, man, I can say the same thing with Canon. Not low light though, but
It does, the thing is, the low light, even the 12,800 ISO that you have is the high base on the FX3 and 6.
yeah.
It's too sensitive. Like I have to be using NDs with it. Like very rarely do I have it. I mean, unless I'm shooting in like incredibly dark situations, it's almost like it's too sensitive, So it's not necessary, I think, for the majority of the time. We got by with it for years without it. It's nice to have. I think just learn to use your gear properly, invest time into energy into your kit. If you're looking to buy into a brand, I think just do your research around the sort of things a brand does for its community. That's an important one. But ultimately, just have fun, just chill, don't worry about it, learn to use it well. I would say it's only important to change if you think it's necessary. Don't waste money. And just have fun. That's the main thing.
Bro, thank you so much, man. I've
Thank you.
learned so much from you, especially business side.
Thank
And
you.
now I'm thinking of I might go back into filmmaking, world, or I might stay. I don't know. But right now, you're kind of convincing me to.
You're doing
go back
everything
to-
great, mate. I think you're making a lot of impact in people's lives, and that's incredible. You know, so stay the course.
So you do, man.
Thank
same,
you.
same, bro. Thank you so much, and more power to both of us, man.
Yeah,
and,
exactly. Yeah,
sure.
We should give ourselves a little round of applause sometimes. We don't.
And the loud button.
That is very loud. Wow.
Bro, thank you so much, bro. Thank you so much.
Cheers, buddy.
Timothy, the man.